Hi, my name is Shelby White and I go to Rossview High School, and today I'm going to teach you about run-on sentences and how we can fix them and why they're bad. And we'll start with what is a run-on sentence. A run-on sentence is a sentence made of two independent clauses with no distinction between the two, no separation. The reason that we need to fix these run-on sentences is because in your essays, if you have a run-on sentence, it sounds very unprofessional, very haphazard. It kind of just runs into each other. It's incorrect grammar, basically, is what I'm getting at. And there's three ways to fix a run-on sentence. The first way is to separate it into two different sentences. This is probably the easiest method because it's a very clear distinction. So one example for you guys is, Ava is very responsible. She always keeps her word. So this is a run-on sentence because the first clause is an independent clause and the second clause is also an independent clause, and there's nothing really separating the two, no distinction or anything to tell you where the sentence is going, basically. So Ava is very responsible is an independent clause, and then it goes straight to she always keeps her word. Ava is very responsible, period. She always keeps her word, period. So, two independent clauses. They don't need each other. So, you can make them into two sentences. The second way to fix a run-on sentence is to add a conjunction, which usually means add a comma. One example of this is Ava is very responsible, comma, and she always keeps her word, period. This way, the sentence is still one sentence, but it has a clear distinction, a clear separation, a clear separation between the two. The third way is a semicolon, which would look like Ava is very responsible, semicolon, she always keeps her word, period. A semicolon is basically the same as a conjunction and a comma. It's just a symbol instead of actual words. All three of those ways work, but if you really just are stuck and you don't know how to make it sound right, you can always separate it into two sentences. That's probably the easiest method. Some more examples is Ryan is cold, he refuses to wear a coat. So what's some ways we can fix this? Well, we could separate it into two sentences. So Ryan is cold, period, he refuses to wear a coat. Or we could use a conjunction. So Ryan is always cold, comma, but he refuses to wear a coat. In that instance, the conjunction but would work, because if you said and he refuses to wear a coat, it wouldn't really make sense. It's kind of just explaining how he refuses to wear a coat even though he's cold, which is kind of ironic. And then a semicolon. So Ryan is always cold, semicolon, he refuses to wear a coat. All of those would work, and all of them are great. So the second and third methods for correcting run-on sentences is basically gluing them together. The first method definitely is the easiest because you don't have to think about, do these still sound good together or what? You can just kind of like separate them and that's that. But if you want to have like more complex sentences, the second and third ways are perfect because the conjunction, so and, but, if, or, therefore, because, all of those conjunctions with a comma will work great at connecting the two ideas instead of separating them if that's what you want to achieve. Instead of just having a lot of simple sentences, these methods are great. And a semicolon is a really great way to achieve this as well, because if you have too many conjunctions and commas in your writing, then that can get kind of boring and kind of repetitive. So a good way to switch things up is to use a semicolon instead. It achieves the same sort of glue that a conjunction does, and it's a great way to seem sophisticated in your writing, even if you're not that sophisticated yet, which is fine. Another thing to look out for in these run-on sentences in your own personal writing is to read very carefully, because run-on sentences are tricky because they're easy to recognize when, it's put in front of you and you're being told, this is a run-on sentence, you need to correct it. But when you're writing, you don't even realize you're writing a run-on sentence, and then you'll proofread your paper, you still won't realize, and then you get your paper back graded and you have a run-on sentence in it and you were like, what? We just studied this, how did I miss that? So one of the biggest things is paying attention in your writing for run-on sentences and now that you know how to fix it, you can have a sharper eye out when you're reading your own paper or someone else's, and it can just lead to an overall better paper if you have the tools to recognize it, and you'll sound more sophisticated in the end. So thank you so much for watching, and no run-on sentences. Have a great quarantine.